The GRE doesn't always indicate whether you're going to get into a program or not. Sometimes, the test does really matter. Sometimes it matters a little bit, yes, less. Sometimes it depends. But I think for a lot of us, the test feels like one part of the application we can really control. We can't go back and change our GPA. We can't go back and have done more research or done that one work opportunity that we thought about, but we didn't do because we did something else. And so the GRE though really feels like something like, okay, I can just sit down and study. I can control this score. And that's what I'm going to focus on. And that is important, sitting down, studying, and focusing on your score. However, the GRE doesn't always indicate whether you're going to get into a program or not. A really high GRE score, I don't want to say it won't help, but I've seen lots of students that have had really good GRE scores and have kind of ignored the rest of the application and haven't gotten in. I've seen way more students on the opposite side who didn't have that GRE score quite where they wanted, but really nailed the rest of the application and got into great programs. So this is something we're going to talk about the rest of today, but we really want to kind of put the GRE in context with every other part of our application. All right, so let's move on to think about how our admissions committees are actually thinking about our test scores. And this is a good place for us to take a step back and just talk about the process of getting into graduate school. So for most programs, there is an admissions committee. This is specifically, for programs that are masters or PhDs in humanities, social sciences, STEM, medicine, business, but master's and PhD programs, typically there's an admissions committee. At some schools, small amount of schools, that might be a sort of set job and office. But most of the time for those programs, these are just professors that are drawn from the department who are doing their service for the year, and they're serving on the admissions committee. And so this is a good thing for us to know, is that admissions committees often change from year to year. Different people are on the committee. Those people come together. They read your entire application. They do some sort of sorting early on, and then they sort of argue it out. They say who should go in, who should not. So they're really, it's a small group of people who are looking at your application, only some of which, if any, might actually be experts in the thing you're applying to. So that's something to remember as well. So there's some key points here. Admissions committees are evaluating your test scores as part of a larger package of information. They're looking at it with your writing, your GPA, your CV, your letters of recommendation. They also can be using test scores in relation to department standards, what the average admitted student has had in the past. And some schools do have cutoffs. Some schools do have a cutoff score. I don't know, Erica, do you have thoughts about the kind of cutoff score or just in general, how schools use that?
Yeah, I mean, with cutoff scores, and again, not an admissions expert. That's one of those scenarios where your test score is going to be very important. That's one of those scenarios where, oftentimes we're looking at average scores, for your school, for your department. But when you've got cutoff scores, that's sort of a snenario where there's a minimum, you have to exceed that amount. And there we go. Okay, test prep needs to be a significant part of that application. And I've worked with students before where that is part of their application profile. That's part of what they're dealing with. And those are the scenarios where we've worked really quite hard to get up to that particular baseline. Maybe not far above it, but we wanted to get to that baseline.